Here not merely as a member of Parliament. I stand here as a Papua New Guinean. I stand here as a former military officer who witnessed firsthand the horrors, pain, and the destruction of Bougainville crisis. I stand here as a person who saw Papua New Guineans die defending the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our nation. Today I speak not out of disdain for Bougainville. I speak out of love for Bougainville and Papua New Guinea. Section 2 of the Constitution and the territorial integrity of Papua New Guinea, Mr. Speaker. Section 2 of our Constitution clearly establishes the absolute sovereignty of Papua New Guinea and defines the territorial boundaries of our independent state. Bougainville is not a foreign country. Bougainville is part of the absolute sovereign territory of Papua New Guinea, Mr. Speaker. When our founding fathers officially adopted our Constitution by Constitutional Assembly on August 15, 1975, which officially came into effect a month later on the 16th of September, 1975, coinciding with our country's independence on that day. Bougainville formed part of the independent state of Papua New Guinea. That constitutional position remains in effect today. No parliament should lightly surrender the sovereign territorial boundaries of our nation. No generation of leaders should become the generation remembered for presiding over the dismemberment of Papua New Guinea. Mr. Speaker, our flag, our constitution, our sovereignty were built upon sacrifice. Many lives were lost to preserve this country. That sovereignty must never be weakened by political pressure, emotional rhetoric, or foreign influence. The origins of Bougainville crisis, Mr. Speaker, to properly understand where we are today, we must honestly reflect on how Bougainville crisis began. The roots of Bougainville crisis were complex. They involved grievances over the Panguna mine, environmental destruction, compensation, identity, and distribution of wealth. But there were also political failures. The crisis escalated in 1998, during the period when the Pangu-led government was in power under the prime ministership of Belden Namah. The state response, 1988, pardon me, in 1988. The state response at the time was inconsistent, reactive, and at times disconnected from the realities on the ground. Mr. Speaker, I was actually doing my year 12 in Sogeri National High School when the crisis, Bougainville crisis, escalated. The landowners wanted their fair share of wealth generated from Panguna mine and 10 million kina compensation for environmental pollution, especially on the Jaba River and the villages in the mine area. Instead, the government sent in riot squads, destroyed villages, assaulted women and children. That's when Bougainville men took up arms to defend their women folks, because most parts of Bougainville, or the island of Bougainville, are matrilineal society, and women are the stronghold of Bougainville society and communities. It was never about breaking away from Papua New Guinea, and that must be very important basis for this debate. It was never about breaking away from Papua New Guinea. It was never about political independence. But the nation suffered greatly as the conflict escalated into a civil war. Thousands of innocent lives were lost. Entire communities were destroyed. Families were divided. The economy suffered. The Papua New Guinea Defense Force, police force, correctional services institutions suffered. Bougainvilleans suffered. Papua New Guinea as a country suffered greatly. There were no winners at the end, Mr. Speaker. There were only survivors. I am one of the living testimonies of a survivor, so as many of my colleagues or comrades, including the Bougainvilleans. I still carry pellets from the gunshot wound in my body today, Mr. Speaker. And so, as many of my colleagues, and our brothers and sisters of Bougainville. In 2001, the Bougainville Peace Agreement ended the crisis and set a framework for peace by peaceful means under the Constitution of Papua New Guinea. Mr. Speaker, today, history presents a remarkable situation. The same political party once again finds itself at the center of determining the future of Bougainville. Under our Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, the government now faces the responsibility of deciding whether the territorial boundaries of Papua New Guinea should remain intact or be permanently altered. I want to take this special moment in history to thank our Prime Minister, Honorable James Marape, for his bold leadership to finally bring in this matter to Parliament with a resolve to permanently put this matter to an end. My beloved Prime Minister, brother and Prime Minister, I salute you for that decision. I salute you for being decisive in your resolve to finally and permanently put this matter to rest. You are and you will be forever remembered as our champion, including all of our colleague members of Parliament on both sides of the House sitting today. This includes the regional members of all the 22 provinces, the open members of Parliament, and of course, those of us who have the privilege of serving as ministers under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Chief James Marape. Credit also must be given to the 6 successive governments and the parliaments before us. This decision is larger than politics, Mr. Speaker. It is larger than personalities. It is larger than any one government. It is a decision that will define our nation forever, Mr. Speaker. My personal reflections, Mr. Speaker, I wish to speak personally on my personal reflections as a former military officer and Bougainville Civil War veteran. As a former officer of the Papua New Guinea Defense Force, I witnessed the realities of Bougainville crisis. I saw young soldiers with our counterparts from the police force and the correctional services deployed into Bougainville into dangerous and most difficult conditions. I saw the emotional trauma carried by our servicemen. Mr. Speaker, the first soldier who lost his life on Bougainville was Second Lieutenant Yandu from Wasaragawi in Isipik province. That was the sacrifice. Mr. Speaker, I saw resistant fighters who fought alongside Papua New Guinea Defense Force soldiers to protect the constitutional sovereignty and territory of our country. Mr. Speaker, I saw young soldiers die in Bougainville. War, Mr. Speaker, war is not a theory. War is not politics. War is human suffering. Many who spoke before me, who spoke today, and who will speak later in this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, were not there. Many did not carry weapons. Many did not bury friends. Many did not witness the pain endured by both Bougainvilleans and members of the security forces. I did, Mr. Speaker. I also reflect on the Sandline affair, or the Sandline crisis, as we all know. The Sandline crisis represented one of the darkest constitutional moments in our nation's history. The decision to engage foreign mercenaries to interfere in Bougainville created a dangerous constitutional and political crisis. Had the mercenaries got on Bougainville, the situation would have been more bloodier than it was already. I believe some of the Bougainvillean leaders, including President Toroama, Ismail Toroama, and Ezekiel Massad, and others, would probably not be alive here today. That's a fact. These mercenaries were ruthless and merciless and follow no rules of war. Had the mercenaries got on Bougainville, situation would have been worse. At that time, many of us